Yo, what's poppin', bagel bros, and welcome back to another Patreon rant. You can get one of these by going to the link in the description and patroning me $5 or $10. This one comes from Drowning Curious, who says, I'm gonna try one of those album rant requests. Listen to Teens of Denial by Car Seat Headrest. It's maybe the best indie rock album of the last decade. Now, just to be clear, under current rant rules, you are not actually allowed to force me to listen to albums and watch movies and whatnot because it's just not worth the time investment monetarily. It's just going to distract me from making main channel content. And I'm actually right now trying to get all the patron rants out of the way as quickly as possible because I think that going into the new year with patron rants overdue, it's just bad karma, right? It's gonna spell disaster for the upcoming year, I think. So, I've got a fire under my ass, and I want to get all the overdue rants done ASAP. And this is one of the 3 I have left from 6 fucking months ago. Yeah, it's been a while. But I did in fact listen to the album. I'm not super big into music in general. I feel like this is an asterisk I say every time I listen to an album for one of these things. I am not a music guy, and furthermore, this is a first impressions of an album. And so, with lyrics in particular, I do not go too much in depth. It is more of a first impressions type of thing, because anything I could say about the lyrics, someone who's listened to it even twice over, which isn't even that much, songs are meant to be listened to dozens, if not hundreds of times over. And so you're supposed to glean the lyrics over time, as opposed to just based on the first impression. And so I, always feel a bit incompetent in these rants, because I do not have the tools to actually dissect and analyze them. But as for first impressions for this album, I think it's pretty good. I did enjoy my time with it. I think that every song is decently catchy, and I don't think any stood out to me as being especially bad. There are some moments that, I would have liked to have seen done better, for example, and they're, really small things. Let me see if I can find the song. Fucking, my notes are a mess for this. It is Vincent. The beginning guitars for that song last forever. The it's pretty repetitive for how long it goes on, and although it is meant to build atmosphere, once again, I feel like it could be cut down just a little bit. There are small things like that throughout the album, but overall, the bulk of the album is really solid, where, it's okay, so the lyrics, it's an emo indie rock album, right? About depressing shit, about how, hey, life sucks, and I'm an alcoholic, and I feel nothing. It's that type of beat. But that's juxtaposed against the relatively, bop songs, right? They're the way I interpret the band's name, and I have no clue if this is actually right. I'm literally just speculating based off of this one album, but I have a feeling the idea is that you listen to these in the car with your head against the car seat headrest, just jamming out to it, right? Even though the lyrics are supposed to be shit, I hate life, There are a lot of little things to comment on throughout, little lyrics I like, such as, in Vincent, once again, I love the lyric, "They got a portrait by Van Gogh on the Wikipedia page for clinical depression." First of all, that just on its own is just hilarious. But second of all, the way I interpret it, at least, is that he's using, what's his name? What's the guy? Will Toledo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that guy the way I interpret it is that he's using his depression in order to make his art the same way, Van Gogh probably used it to make that painting specifically. The one still on the Wikipedia page to this day. I checked. Hippie Powers. It's a song about drugs, and I like how this set of lyrics I especially like, where, in an earlier line, he says, shouldn't have had that last beer, not good, right? But in the second verse, he says, I am tripping up my words real bad. But in the second verse, he says, should not have had that last whoa! Hit of DMT! And then it goes into la 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 for the next two lines. That's a great switcheroo. I also like a line later on in that song where he says, what happened to that chubby little kid who smiled so much and loved the Beach Boys? What happened is I killed that fucker, and I took his name, and I got new glasses. This entire album has lines that seem simple on the surface, but they're a bit deceptive, where they do have a lot of, references in them and things you just sort of need to get. This is one of the simpler lines in the album, but it's worded in such a way that it is memorable, and I do like it. And in terms of references, let me see if I can find it in my notes. Drunk Drivers, Killer Whales, where one of the more obscure references in the song, and its namesake, is it's referencing a documentary called Blackfish about killer whales in captivity. And that ties into the themes of the song being about not only self-destruction, but how, being so selfishly self-destructive also destroys everything around you for no good reason, really, which is tying into the whole drunk drivers thing of, drunk driving is not only a self-destructive action, but also one that endangers literally everyone else on the road with you. I think my favorite song of the album is The Ballad of Costa Concordia, which, going into it, I thought would literally be a retelling of the story of Costa Concordia, which I am familiar with due to the Internet Historian video, which is the reason why anyone in my generation is familiar with the story, it feels like. Sucks that Internet Historian got busted for plagiarism, but as far as I know, that video isn't plagiarized. But here it's used as a metaphor for his life in general, where he feels entirely unequipped to drive the ship, and it feels like he's just sinking it further and further, which, if you know anything about the story of Costa Concordia, a lot of ineptitude and miscommunication and people who are not fit to be in this job. And also the captain who abandons ship. He is not going down with the ship. He just jumps off, just gets away. Literally has a superior tell him to get the fuck back on the ship. So, God, I am going way too deep into the actual story of Costa Concordia, but I'm actually a big fan of the first part of this song. I read in the Genius annotations that apparently Will Toledo, I forgot his name again, but I think that's generally right. His favorite is the second part of the song, because it's broken up into 3 distinct sections, and it is a long-ass song. It is 11 minutes, and somehow I went in seeing that timestamp expecting it to just be kind of fucking boring, especially because I had heard the guitar bit in What the Fuck Was the Song Called way earlier on, where it's just duh, over and over again, meant to set the atmosphere, but 2 minutes of it is a bit much, I thought. So for this, I was like, oh, it's just going to be something like that. But no, he gets into it real quick. And the first part of the song is describing how, back in the day, he woke up in the morning, he survived another night, essentially, and he was thankful just to be here alive, and, he's admiring the beauty of flowers stretching in the sunlight. But now he wakes up in the morning, and all the joy is gone, right? And I especially like the chorus of that part of the song where he's saying, like, if only I could sustain my anger, feel it grow stronger and stronger, it sharpens to a point and shreds my skin, shakes off the weight of my sins, and takes me to heaven. Where the way I interpret it is, at this point he can't even muster up anything, where even anger would be infinitely preferable to the void that he feels. And another song I really like thematically is Saga of Frank Sinatra. And the reason why Frank Sinatra is mentioned is because the song is about being successful as an artist and, defying his parents and doing this thing such that he never has to get a real job, which I can relate to. That hit home for me. I felt that in my soul. So yeah, overall, good experience. I like the album. I know I'm skipping over a lot of stuff, but once again, I don't feel equipped to do any sort of deep dive here. I feel like I would have to listen to it a dozen more times before I could do that. Especially because there are, once again, these obscure references like the whole thing with Blackfish that I only know about because I read Genius annotations as I was listening. So, there's that. It is pretty dense, not as much so as Will Wood, where if you listen to a song of his for the first time, you don't know what the fuck it's about, but, it's not quite that bad, but there is still a bit more to unpack that I'm sure people, and especially curious in the comments, I imagine, are going to school me on. But overall, I like it, good album. That's about it. See ya.